Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming today. My name is Dan Pitt. I serve as Executive Director of the Open Networking Foundation, where over 100 companies work together to fulfill the promise of software-defined networking. ONF is a user-driven organization dedicated to accelerating the adoption of Open SDN. SDN is a new approach to networking in which network control is decoupled from data forwarding and is directly programmable for business purposes. Essentially, we are decoupling hardware and software so the two can evolve independently. The result is an extremely adaptable, manageable, and cost-effective infrastructure that fosters unprecedented programmability, automation, and orchestration. Implementing SDN via an open standard frees network operators to integrate best-of-breed technology as it is developed. Programmability ties network behavior directly to business objectives under the control of the network's owner or operator. We're glad that you can watch this presentation, which explains in greater detail the major activities, processes, and programs of ONF. More important than your merely watching, I invite you to join us in the activities that make sense for your own organization. The high caliber of volunteer participants like you is what makes ONF effective, vibrant, and the leader in bringing SDN to markets worldwide. SDN is all we do, and we are unique in our broad charter for SDN. Whether you work in one of our many technical working groups, serve on our market education committee, or participate in our plugfests and testing activities, we think there are many valuable reasons to have your company and you personally be a vibrant and valuable member of ONF. Our staff today will be showing you some important information in this presentation. Take your time to absorb it, reflect on what we are doing, and work with us to both improve ONF and help your own organization meet its goals. We're glad you are an ONF member or are considering membership, and we thank you for taking the time to learn more about this amazing movement. Let us know at any time how we can help you. On behalf of our board of directors, our staff, and our nearly 2,000 volunteer participants from over 100 companies around the globe, I thank you for your interest and initiative, and I hope I can meet you personally in the near future. Thank you for your kind attention.
Hi, I'm Cassandra Blair. I work as ONF Administrative Coordinator, and I'll be sharing some of the exciting things that are going on at ONF this year. We have the 2013 ONF Initiatives, Strategy, Growth, and Liaisons. We'll also discuss ONF Governance and Specification Development. We'll also talk about our ONF working groups, discussion groups, advisory groups, and we'll discuss a little about how you get around as an ONF member. We'll also talk about leveraging your ONF membership investment. First of all, let's look at our initiatives. In order to do that, I am introducing Rick Bauer, the Technical Program Manager at ONF, who will work through some of the programs for this year. Rick?
Thanks, Cassandra. Here at ONF, we are promoting SDN as a commercial solution for end users. We're standardizing what needs to be standardized by committees. We're strong adherents in OpenFlow as the southbound API standard, and we're great advocates of experimentation, of developing code, and of posting that and making it open source. Now, we're not your grandmother's SDO. We don't meet simply to have meetings. We don't pick exotic places to do our work in. We're really focused on the work. Everything at ONF revolves around bringing SDN solutions to market as quickly and as effectively as possible. We're not beholden to any coalition. We're not owned by any cartel, any group of vendors, any set of incumbents who are trying to interfere with the natural progression and innovation of these technologies. We're not trying to pick winners. We're not trying to pick losers. We're simply trying to let the promise of SDN triumph in the marketplace. The key principles of SDN are based on, of course, the ideas of simplification and programmability. Abstraction layers are at the heart of that design philosophy. You can see what we've been doing in the past years with respect to SDN and with respect to our major specification, OpenFlow. As we've moved from the early 1.0.1 now to 1.3, with not only OpenFlow, but with OF config now moving from 1.0 to 1.1. Our OpenFlow test specification just released. This has empowered our conformance testing program that we're very excited about. And so far we've had 2 plug fests, we've had several demos, we do white papers, tech reports, all around these transitions and these standards and specifications. We've got tremendous industry support with other meetings, with user group meetings, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But we also have a strong product set with over 70 products. We have over 30 million ports that are now OpenFlow conformant and OpenFlow enabled. We have great incumbent support for OpenFlow. And the OpenFlow ecosystem with companies acquiring companies, with innovation, is certainly alive and vibrant here at ONF. We have members, our membership has grown from 84 members to over 100. Sometimes our members are acquired. Just in this last year, we brought in new user companies and new member companies. And we're excited to recently announce that we've added over 100 companies to our entire membership. So we're very excited about that. Some of the initiatives that we have before us in 2013 are to build out the OpenFlow substrate, to continue to foster the innovation that created OpenFlow, that will propel OpenFlow to greater and greater capabilities, to greater functionality, to greater, as what we call, extensibility. We want to encourage the SDN innovation, not to control it, but to encourage it and to let it flow and to provide a place for those who want to work in SDN to find common cause with each other and grow in the effectiveness of fulfilling our mission. We're going to look at supporting services above OpenFlow into layer 4 through 7 and talk a little bit about the relationships with groups that are working in that area as well. In 2012, the OpenFlow protocol saw widespread adoption, with the major network vendors either releasing OpenFlow switches or announcing their intent to release OpenFlow switches in 2013. We've certainly seen that happen so far this year. Even Cisco, with its Open Daylight initiative, has acknowledged the power of OpenFlow. On a technical front, the Extensibility Workgroup, it's a major part of ONF, consolidated several existing protocol versions, releasing versions 1.01 and 1.3.1 that clarify and fix respective issues with specification 1.0 and 1.3. These were approved by the ONF board earlier this year. In 2013, ONF will focus on the commercial viability of OpenFlow 1.3.x. This is going to provide long-term release support and adding key new extensions to support different deployment options in the enterprise, in cloud computing, and in carrier SDN. In addition, the Extensibility Workgroup will begin specifying OF OpenFlow 1.4 and OF OpenFlow 1.5 with the intent to add incremental capabilities to support commercial deployments. A key new initiative is to prototype every new feature prior to adding it to the specification to verify the technical validity in advance of inclusion. In this way, we can design, we can test, we can prototype all in one action without having to do the back-end filling that often keeps these specifications from coming to market more quickly. The second major initiative for ONF in 2013 is to drive the OF config and the associated OAM for OpenFlow. This follows on our successful release of OF config 1.0, OF config 1.1, and OF config 1.1.1 in 2012. The config and management work group will deliver specifications for the bootstrapping of an OpenFlow protocol network and an event framework and events for an OpenFlow standard network as well. This is really exciting work. It's really going to help us with understanding the internals of the functionality of OpenFlow. In addition, it'll deliver recommendations for future detection and topology discovery for OpenFlow standard networks, as well as evolve the OFConfig specification to cover instantiation of OpenFlow switches, additional tunneling configuration, the configuration of table typing prototypes, table typing TTPs, and potentially transport networks, as well as improvements to the security configuration specification. In addition, the Config and Management Working Group will evaluate if additional transports such as OVSDB or WSMAN should be supported in the OpenFlow specification as well. It's very important to see how multi-layered networks are going to leverage SDN and ONF, and so we'll take a look at that in just a moment. In 2013, the ONF is investing significant resources to help the industry accelerate the deployment and implementation of OpenFlow and SDN. There are three major initiatives that are kicking off in the first half of the year: the OpenFlow Conformance Test Certification, the open source OpenFlow driver competition, and work to foster a more innovative chipset ecosystem. The OpenFlow Conformance Testing Program provides the test specifications, the reference test code, pilot testing, and commercial testing environments and tools to ensure that networking equipment meets ONF and OpenFlow standards for ONF conformance. The first test lab, the In-Center Laboratory at Indiana University, began certification in July of 2013. Look for more information about this certification testing program, about other labs coming online on the ONF website. The open source driver competition promotes the adoption of SDN and OpenFlow as well. The driver competition insulates, the OpenFlow driver insulates the OpenFlow controller and logic from the details of the wire protocol and creation and maintenance of connections to OpenFlow switches. This competition brings the ONF development community together to write an open source version of this driver. Submissions are open until the 16th of September 2013, the winner to be announced sometime in late October. Individuals or teams can work together to win a $50,000 grand prize, plus bragging rights and certain industry recognition. Full details again are available on the ONF website. Another area of investment is in building a chipset ecosystem that continues to innovate and support SDN architectures and OpenFlow in particular. This includes technical work from such as table typing specifications from the Forwarding Abstractions Working Group, along with the creation of a chipmaker advisory board to foster the growth in OpenFlow-enabled chipsets. Finally, the Migration Working Group was formed to document and to provide use cases to drive the migration to OpenFlow from legacy networks and to provide roadmaps to be able to enable that transition. We support SDN innovation wherever it is, and we're terrifically excited to promote and to announce our Research Associates program. The leading scholars, thought leaders, and academic leaders who are studying, who are promoting, who are teaching OpenFlow and SDN architectures worldwide now come to ONF and now participate and contribute in very unique ways. We're very proud of each of our research associates, and they're listed below. In 2013, the ONF will continue to research and advance topics in SDN. In 2013, we expanded our program to add 9 new research associates, and we'll continue to add to them in the future. At this time, we'll talk a little bit about the ways in which ONF is supporting services above OpenFlow. In 2013, we began documenting the services required to support the implementation of SDN above the OpenFlow substrate. This includes the publication of our architecture and our framework documents so that those who are working in those areas can understand how OpenFlow works. It also want to provide continued documentation and iteration as we grow on each of these documents, and so that individuals can be able to understand SDN and OpenFlow as it continues to evolve. This team will also draft and finalize a document describing the northbound interface that is a requirement for SDN use cases. This is very important in terms of being able to program to higher levels of abstraction. ONF will publish a document outlining those northbound interfaces, and while the industry tries to nail down some specifics in this area, ONF believes that this is an area that clear understanding of requirements, implementations, and other features are very important for this particular work to be effective. At this time, Cassandra will talk about the most important part of ONF, our member companies.
ONF is proud of its member companies around the world, spanning the gamut of small startups to market leaders in networking on a global scale. From end-user operators of SDN, deployers of these technologies, to companies that manufacture the hardware and software to power the SDN revolution. From telecom providers to software enablers, from virtual switches to director-class hardware powering data centers worldwide, the leading companies of the world come to ONF to share technologies that can be adopted by all as specifications, as use cases, as best practices, all to fulfill the mission of ONF. We are a user-driven organization dedicated to the promotion and adoption of SDN through open standards development. These companies have joined. We hope you have made that decision to engage and work with us. We're going to give you a few suggestions about how to do that in a few minutes. But first, Rick will be sharing how ONF engages with other standards bodies and technology organizations around the world through our Liaisons program.
The following two slides show the rich web of liaison relationships that ONF currently enjoys with some of the leading standards development organizations, thought leaders, and end-user organizations around the world. From cloud computing, from the development of technical specifications, you'll find that the strategic collaborations that we developed, the liaisons that are part of ONF, allow us to coordinate on items in areas in which we have common cause.
Like all organizations, ONF has a governance and a structure. Philosophically, we believe that keeping progress and structure to its core, just enough to move forward quickly without bogging down an endless process, makes for a lean, effective organization. We like to think that we can preserve the intensity and drive of a startup while still functioning with the leading international networking companies in the world. It's a balancing act, and we're always working on it. This is how we make decisions, and this is how we develop specifications and bring other deliverables to the world for open, free use for all. Rick, tell us about the major groups within ONF.
Thanks, Cassandra. The ONF governance is a very simple model with a board of directors that is chosen by users and operators of SDN and not vendors. Working directly and reporting to the board of directors is our executive director, serving as an employee along with his staff. He reports to the board to continue an assiduously vendor-neutral structure. Working with the board of directors is the ONF's TAG, or Technical Advisory Group. In many ways, the TAG functions as the CTO for the organization, advising on technical matters, ruling on particular challenges, working to make sure that the best and brightest solutions in the industry come to support SDN and OpenFlow. Along with the TAG, the Technical Advisory Group, one of the new groups that has been created this current year is the Chipmaker Advisory Group, the CAB. This too serves in that similar CTO-like function for the organization. The purpose of the CAB is to make sure that innovation in the chip-making space continues, to advise ONF about developments in that area, but also to take input requirements from many ONF member companies to be able to influence that chip architectures continue to support as they move from hybrid support of SDN solutions to more optimized support of SDN solutions, our CAB is serving a very useful function. Working to support all the work of the organization are our technical working groups. How do they work? What goes on? How does a technical working group start up? What's the genesis, and how do they work toward creating specifications, use cases, other kinds of technical deliverables? Well, let's take a look. At first, we basically need to see what kind of activities are going on in the existing work groups, but to explain how work groups get started, some individual or group of companies or a coalition of what we call BOFs, or birds of a feather, at meetings or via our email listservs, figures out, is there some needed functionality, some feature, some activity, or some industry that needs to leverage OpenFlow in particular, or SDN in general. And so what can be done to improve in that SDN ecosystem? To that group of common people who are sharing a common interest will gather together and create what's called an ONF discussion group, DG as what they're called. This discussion group will meet. Usually it's a number of companies, a number of individuals finding common cause, and they'll meet regularly SDN, over SDN architectures or over certain aspects of OpenFlow. ONF makes the conference bridge and resources available so that those groups can continue to function. They solicit member input, they develop a working register. They find out, is this one company's idea, or is this something that will benefit the entire SDN ecosystem? As this discussion group continues, it forms what is called an ONF working group, or WG. A detailed charter of work has to be drawn up and submitted through the technical advisory group and then on to the board of directors for final approval, and to charter the record of work for that particular working group. It's a very tight schedule, it's a very aggressive schedule. The working groups that are created in ONF don't last forever. They are very focused and are very driven toward specific deliverables in time. We found in many organizations that working groups have long lost whatever reason or whatever rationale they had for their existence and just exist for existence sake. We want to make sure that the work of the organization in its working groups always relates meaningfully and from a market standpoint to what is needed in SDN and in OpenFlow. So this charter is really an important part of the development process. Next, once the working group is chartered, there's a leadership, a work group chair that's appointed by the board of directors. Other leadership can be voted on within the working group, but on a regular basis, usually weekly, that organization, that working group will meet in conference, usually using a conference bridge with document sharing, those kinds of tools, to be able to develop those deliverables. Be it a specification, be it writing a use case, working on a particular industry application or integration of OpenFlow technology or OpenFlow specification or SDN technology. So that work group, that's really the ongoing work of the organization. But as that comes to a close and as the work begins to gel around a specification, then everyone puts their heads down and it gets pretty exciting. A draft of a proposal, a specification, whatever the deliverable is submitted first of all to the technical advisory group, to the council of chairs, all the different working group chairs within the organization, for precision, for alignment, for technical accuracy, just to make sure that it continues to reflect and is harmonious with the other activities in the organization. And then that particular specification, deliverable, use case, whatever, goes to the board for review. That's a formal process, and then the board will approve that particular specification by vote. They will authorize that, and once that approval takes place, whatever that specification is, white paper, use case, whatever, becomes freely available for download on the ONF website. Our specifications, our work, our IP policy is structured to enable work, not to prevent or inhibit through lawyerly details and conflict good specifications from getting out there. But the IPR structure of the organization allows groups to work in freedom, where we don't have a lot of patent trolling and other kinds of activities that would inhibit the development of these specifications. So once voted, that specification becomes free and available to the entire world. That, in short, is the work of an ONF working group.
Let's take a deeper dive into the activities of each of the groups at ONF. While we describe each group, start thinking about how you and your company can engage, can participate, can share ideas to help SDN acceptance continue to grow. We've seen a bit about how these deliverables are developed, but what does each group do? Rick Bauer is the technical program manager, and his responsibility is to ensure that our working groups, discussion groups, and committees have a place to grow, thrive, and contribute to fulfilling our mission. Rick, talk about each of these groups.
Thanks, Cassandra. As you can see, our structure is pretty flat with a board of directors and an executive director, the technical advisory group, as well as the chipmakers advisory board being able to serve in the CTO-like function of giving advice to the entire organization. With that, the chairs of each of the work groups make up what we've called the Council of Chairs. The various work groups are 8 in number, but are always evolving, continuing their work, completing it, and then in the case where their work is finished, disbanding. And so those groups will go into detail at this time. We mentioned the Technical Advisor Group, the TAG. It is that high-level guidance body. It gives a multi-vendor perspective to anything within the SDN ecosystem, or in OpenFlow in particular, to be able to understand it from a variety of different perspectives. These are term appointments that are annual. A chair position rotates on a quarterly basis. And as we said earlier, the TAG's responsibility is to create, to commission, and to oversee the working groups. They identify what the high-level technical needs are in the organization and are able to develop and lead in this area. We have some of the greatest technical talent who lead in our technical advisory group, and here are those who are serving presently in the ONF as our technical advisory group. Moving along, we also in 2013 created the Chipmaker Advisory Board. The CAB, as it's known, reports to the board and coordinates with Dan Pitt, our executive director, the technical programs manager, and serves as a forum for these chip manufacturers to be able to advise ONF on what are the best ways to integrate the chip making functions to support SDN in general and OpenFlow in particular. Their responsibilities are to advise the board, to coordinate with our technical advisory group, other working groups within the organization, as well as our staff, to be able to make sure that the interests of SDN are well represented in the chip making endeavor. It's to help motivate silicon vendors to implement the OpenFlow protocol as widely and as quickly as possible. Our inaugural 2013 Chipmaker Advisory Board represents some of the leading companies and some of the most brilliant scientists available in the world today who understand the chip-making enterprise. We congratulate these who have been added and who now serve to our inaugural Chip-Making Advisory Board. Let's move on and talk about the various work groups within ONF at this time. This really, as I said before, is the heart of the technical innovation and activity at ONF. A discussion group is usually formed first, then after a charter is made, a full working group is commissioned with a charter, with a plan of work, and with a project. ONF work products and deliverables really are created, they're spawned, they're worked on, they're developed. The real hard work is done in the ONF working group. These groups collaborate via interactive mailing lists, conference calls, and twice a year in-person meetings. Occasionally work groups will convene together, given their body of work and given their responsibilities. They'll convene in other face-to-face locales as well. All of our meetings are guided by a keen sense of responding to U.S. and international law concerning antitrust. And at the beginning of every one of our meetings, there'll be an antitrust statement that is read. basically that says that all of the Open Networking Foundation's meetings are in strict compliance with our antitrust guidelines. That for every participant, for every attendee, and even for those who occasionally would attend as guests, they are bound by those guidelines. And there's a link to our website. You can dig into those in a deeper way. But these laws have been established to prevent collusion, to prevent market manipulation, to prevent the kinds of things that ONF is already against. We believe in open technology and open standards and the ability to share with unrestricted licensure the fruit of our work together without all of the intellectual property games and battles that often hinder innovation instead of speed it. And so while ONF respects and adheres stringently to all of the antitrust guidelines, we also want to make sure that our groups can work with freedom to be able to explore, to be able to discuss, to be able to share ideas, and then have those ideas validated by consensus rather than by voting blocks or manipulation, to be able to be accepted by the organization to build specifications. That's really the way things happen in ONF. Let's talk now about our working groups. First of all is our Architecture and Framework Group. We call it ARCH. Their goals for 2013 are, as we mentioned earlier, to finalize the framework and the architecture documents. As these go through draft and final stages, they will also be working on describing the northbound API and specific SDN use cases. They'll be drafting and finalizing documents describing northbound interfaces of other SDN solutions as well. The leadership for each of these working groups is displayed as well. We're very proud and appreciative of those who lead and serve and work as work group chairs, as co-chairs, as vice chairs, and as secretaries within our organization. Our next working group is configuration and management. Its major goals for 2013 include delivering a spec for the bootstrapping of an OpenFlow standard network, delivering a spec for event framework and for events in a standard OpenFlow network, and also delivering failure detection and topology discovery. Our next work group is the extensibility working group, building out the features of the OpenFlow specification. Goals for 2013 include prototyping every new feature needed for the protocol. As OpenFlow 1.3.x continues to grow, mature, and is accepted by the industry, long-term support will be structured into this particular version of the protocol spec. ONF extensions for 1.3.x will be able to deliver new features and functionalities as well. As we move to OpenFlow 1.4 and OpenFlow 1.5, we'll continue to see new incremental growth in extensibility, in improvements, various aspects of the specification. Our next working group is forwarding abstractions. Goals for 2013 include enhanced adoption for the OpenFlow standard on hardware forwarding targets. Also being able to support testing and conformance testing by developing and establishing a canonical form of table typing patterns, TTPs. This is very important as we not only develop specification, but also the conformance test that rides right behind it. This will really help in the test development process as well. Other goals include easing controller implementation, simplifying assessment of interoperability, really making sure those TTP code points are developed to be able to support the feature sets that are existent not only in 1.3 but also in future versions of the spec. Our next working group is a unique group called Market Education. Not only is its work in a technical space, but its unique function is to take the technical activities of all the different working groups and translate that in ways that can be understood by the markets. So through white papers, through position papers, through use cases, through other Marcom and marketing communications tools, its goal is to help users worldwide understand the SDN revolution, to be able to deploy SDN architectures and solutions within their enterprises. And so we look to the Market Education Committee for a broad range of deliverables serving internally to the organization, but also externally to the world. Its goals for 2013 include publishing a data center, a carrier, and an enterprise solution brief and other use cases, creating a presentation library of topics, materials, slide decks that individuals inside the ONF can be able to use for presentations, to be able to deliver that, to create a speaker's resource library, to be able to find that kind of information as SDN and the message of SDN goes around the world. Our next working group is testing and interoperability. Exciting developments have happened in 2013 in writing and publishing the OpenFlow switch test specification 1.01. The first Plugfest was held in early June. The development of the ONF conformance test was recently an exciting milestone within the organization. And then finally, the opportunity for companies worldwide to be able to test for conformance on OpenFlow 1.0 is really an exciting development. Their continued activities will be to write the OpenFlow 1.3 test specification, writing test specs for OF config as well. One of the newer working groups within ONF is the Migration Working Group. Its goals for 2013 include the submission of various use cases and how organizations and technologies migrate from existing networking solutions toward SDN and OpenFlow supported networking solutions. So documents that describe the metrics, the measures for migration, publishing prototype working code for migration, validating those metrics, and making sure that the tools are available, the information is available, disseminated globally to be able to help that process. Our next working group is the Optical Transport Working Group. Again, one of the newer groups commissioned in early April of 2013. Its responsibilities lie around reference architecture and framework documents that describe terminology, that describe the modeling of optical transport switches and networks, and how the utilization of virtualization and network abstractions in those environments, particularly in optical transport networks, can help support SDN. Many of our carrier companies are involved in optical transport. We are very excited about the progress and work that's going on there in optical transport. Working groups do not just create themselves. Usually they're the result of a lot of discussion among parties and companies who have equal concern about a particular issue or technology need in the ecosystem. And so ONF allows groups to be able to form informally, and we call them discussion groups. They're in a sense our own technology incubator. It's a way for parties of like-minded thinking to get together to be able to validate whether what they're thinking about really makes sense for the entire ecosystem. So it's an opportunity really for you or for your company to drive any vital aspect of OpenFlow and of SDN architecture. We have a Japanese discussion group. We have a security discussion group currently working on threat analysis models, security with SDN and the security of SDN. These are vital topics. They're well along the way toward the process of becoming their own working group. Similarly, with skills certification, with wireless and our mobile discussion groups, these groups meet together to discuss what kind of work they'd like to do, to submit a charter to the ONF board for review, and to eventually be chartered as an ONF working group. Each of the chairs, vice chairs, and secretaries within our working groups work together and collaborate in what's called our Council of Chairs. They meet on a regular basis, talk about the various aspects of mutual concern, coordinate their efforts around developing different versions of the specification, making sure their work is a collaboration, and being able to advance the interests of the overall organization. We appreciate these leaders from some of the leading companies in the world as they support the work of SDN, the maturing of the OpenFlow specification, and the greater acceptance of SDN in enterprise networks today.
Now we are going to look at some of the tools ONF members use on a daily basis.
I'd like to talk to you about Arrow, reached at login.opennetworking.org. It's a powerful way to leverage search in looking at the documents and managing information for the ONF. It's a different metaphor. It takes a bit of getting used to, but it's quite powerful. I'd like to introduce it to you right now. By clicking on the landing screen, you can search for particular groups that you're involved with. I have this pull-down menu on working groups, and there are all the groups of the organization. This is one, basically a predetermined search. I click, and there's all the information. But by using search and predetermining those searches, I can set up some very powerful presentations of information. Here I'm going to use my ONF and basically add a series of predetermined searches to show up on my portal landing screen. So looking on, here's the left column, I can pull down a number of things depending on what groups I'm involved in and have that information presented to me as a custom landing page. I'm just clicking here, adding some things. I can go down to the right column and add some information there as well. I'm able to present just the kind of things that I'm looking for on a regular basis, and this can change, and so you can customize it, and you have that power and ability and be able to do that all by yourself. But clicking there on my ONF, you'll see now I've got more information presented right at my fingertips. I can also go to meetings and find out what meetings are going on, register for PlugFest, for work days, those kinds of things, and just walk through it right there. Very intuitive. The more you look around, the more you'll learn about the system. Clicking on lists allows me to subscribe to those lists that I'm able to join. I can click on one of the lists on the right, and all I need to do is put in my ONF email address. That's a company address, not a private one. Put that in there, and I've been added to the list. Just like that, I can delete my membership in that list all by myself as well. Documents is really where Arrow shines. By using the power of search and the predetermined numbers that are time-stamped on every document that's created here, Arrow presents information in ways that's really powerful, that transcends workgroup buckets and folders. I can search by document type if I'm looking for minutes for a variety of groups. I can search by that particular work group. I can even go over to the author. And then by clicking on those documents, I can also find versioning history and things like that. So very helpful for our group. Clicking on projects gives me access to a glossary that we're working on, other short-term activities of the organization as well. ONF Calendar is really a mashup with Google Calendar where we've listed all of the various activities for the organization. Most importantly, it helps you to understand where and when the work groups are meeting and the WebEx coordinates. Very important thing there. So get used to using Arrow. More and more information is on it. Thank you for spending time with it, and enjoy your ONF.
When we talk about how to get more involved, this is where Cassandra and I really want to encourage you to take the first steps to really make your ONF membership important and effective and fruitful for your own company. Keep in mind, this is your ONF.
Log into Arrow and subscribe to the working group mailing lists. Attend one of the weekly meetings. The schedules are all posted on the Arrow calendar.
You know, once you've joined, then it's time to dig in and make a difference. There are all kinds of great opportunities. Review a proposed paper. If you have the skills, contribute some code or help with a test specification. It's really important to look at all of the opportunities that we have here at ONF for you to be able to be effective. You know, with so many things, you get out what you put into. And I think this is the real key in terms of being successful at ONF. And we really want that for you and for your organization. You know, there's work with our market education group. If you don't feel that you have the kind of technical skills to be able to make a valid contribution in our working group, get involved with market education. Help write our white papers, the things that end users and customers and adopters of SDN and OpenFlow, the things that they need to read in order to develop their own company roadmaps for SDN adoption and implementation. You know, not everyone can do everything, but someone can do something. What is it that your company can do? Don't sell yourself short. Don't sell your membership short. Start somewhere, and then, more than anything else, work your own unique membership plan.
As you probably know, SDN-related events are ongoing throughout the world. We simply can't send enough of our staff members to cover all the speaking engagements we receive. Event producers look to have ONF as part of their event because they know that ONF is the trusted leader in accurate, vendor-neutral, open standards development worldwide. If you have the skills and your company supports your interests, please consider becoming one of our ONF speaking ambassadors. Contact the Market Education Working Group to find out more about these exciting opportunities.
Next, please bring us your customers. Our migration and other working groups are talking to end user groups, end user organizations, customers to try to find out the unique challenges that they face in deploying SDN architecture. We'd like to understand your customer needs to the extent that they can share them in collaborative environments where others are exposed to that information. We would like to be able to enable those kinds of interactions.
And last of all, don't forget to attend the upcoming face-to-face activities of the organization. Check in with us.
One of the great resources that is a part of your ONF membership and really is free for the entire world is a website that I want you to bookmark. It's www.opennetworking.org. It's the landing page of the ONF organization. It's your member website where you log in to the Arrow back-end system. It's a portal into the world of SDN, OpenFlow, and networking news worldwide. On there you'll find white papers, use cases, the materials that are developed by our Market Education Group. You'll also find great information about news, upcoming events, partner programs, educational opportunities. Take this time and bookmark this website. It will be an invaluable resource for you, for your company, and for your career.
Here are the people who will work to help you. We want to make sure that your membership fee is a worthwhile investment, that your time, your participation, your energies are challenged in the most effective way possible. We value our members' time, talent, and energy, and we want you to get involved. Let us know how we can help. If you struggle with how you can participate, give us a call, send us an email, or let's sit down and talk. Don't let another day go by without figuring out just how you, your company, and ONF can be a good fit. And thanks for listening to us today.
Thank you, Cassandra, for sharing so much really good information with our members. On behalf of the more than 100 member companies in ONF worldwide, on behalf of our executive director, our board of directors, I'm Rick Bauer, Technical Program Manager from ONF. Thanking you again for your interest. Thank you for your concern, your time, and your involvement. Together, working in ONF, we can empower SDN to change the future of networking.